Hello and welcome to today's community webinar. Today we'll be taking a closer look at Totara Engage and the content creation tool Anders Pink. So today we're really lucky because we're joined by Totara's Head of Partner Success, Meredith Henson. Hello Meredith. And from Anders Pink, we're also joined by Managing Director Michelle Hazelton.
Hello.
And Digital Marketing Customer Success Specialist Lizzie Hazelton, who'll be helping to answer any of your questions on chat today as well. So just a bit of housekeeping for today's webinar. We are recording this session, so you'll be able to watch this on demand in the community later today. And you're really welcome to ask any questions today. If you'd like to ask a particular product question, we ask that you do that in the Q&A feature. It's just easier for us to track. And if you have any general comments, feel free to put those inside the comments box there too. Feel free to tell us where you're from. We like a bit of chat, like don't be scared, join in. And if you think of any questions after the event today, or if you're watching this webinar on demand, you're welcome to post those questions in the community as well. And we will come back to you about any questions that you have. So if you found this recording via YouTube, for example, then you can sign up for a free Totara community account. You'll be able to access lots of great learning content in there, as well as talk to thousands of learning professionals all over the world. We also have a Totara help site, so if you're trying to learn more about Totara, you can look at our help documentation, which is noted there. So just a bit of context for today's webinar. I'm sure many of you on today's webinar are aware how teams work and collaborate has slowly been changing for years. And many of you might know, so many of you might now be working remotely, whereas before the pandemic, your working life might have looked quite different. Meredith and I used to work really closely together in the Brighton office, but we mostly work remotely now. And that's a picture that's true for millions of people who are working remotely, with as many as 42% of all employees working from home. So alongside working remotely, many people are changing roles and reskilling and upskilling. So you could say we're at a bit of a crossroads, really. Like, how can we perform new skills? And organizations are constantly looking to change how they upskill and develop their staff. So with that in mind, one thing we really want to try and do is remove as many barriers to learning as possible. So creating new formal learning content is quite time consuming, and it's usually so time consuming, in fact, that we risk the content being out of date by the time it's developed and it's ready for our learners. So the majority of training delivery is far too rigid and slow. So content creation can be bottlenecked by individuals who have too much content to produce in too short a time frame. And with that in mind, we need to think about supporting learners and delivering training content in different ways to help our L&D teams. And when we think about learning content as well, that might be changing. What is learning content really? And when you have a problem at work, what do you normally do? For example, if you don't know how to do something, do you look at formal training on your learning platform, for example, or do you Google the answer? Feel free in the chat to say what you normally do. If you're stuck at work, do you ask a colleague? Do you go on Google? Do you use YouTube? What do you do? Do you sign up for a formal training event in 3 weeks' time? The answer is usually not so straightforward. Often we look at YouTube or we look on Google. I'll ask Meredith actually, and you'll tell me the answer when you, Meredith.
I was about to make a joke, but I didn't want to interrupt your flow.
Okay, so yeah, as I say, what we mean by learning content is really changing. So anything could be seen as learning content now, from YouTube to podcasts to articles, and this can all relatively be seen as learning content. So we also need to think about sharing content, and the knowledge economy. In the knowledge economy, the flow of information is the equivalent to the oil pipe in the industrial industry, which is why we have this nice big picture here. So really what we're trying to do is allow people to share as much specialized content as quickly as possible, so removing as many barriers as possible. So with this all in mind, I'm going to pass over to Michelle to introduce Anders Pink to us.
Perfect segue. Thank you, Matt. So when you think about sharing information as quickly and easily as possible,
maybe some of you might be thinking, well, yes, that's all possible, and we can Google and we can copy and paste links and all the rest of it. However, that takes a long time. It's not very scalable and it's difficult to be consistent, which is why we created Anders Pink. So what is Anders Pink? It curates content from the web, from any publicly available source, on skills or topics or trends. And I'm going to show you some of this in a little while. And you can create custom briefings on pretty much any topic that's published online, but we also create a whole bunch of predefined briefings on common business topics that we see people curating content on all the time. And the reason for doing this is that we want to help you to get up to speed in using Anders Pink really quickly. So not only have we created those in English, but we've also created them in 6 other languages. So you can take those briefings, you can tailor them, so you can change the context of them to your own audience or your own organization. You can change the language again, and then they push content into your talent experience platform, Totara, automatically every time there's something new published that meets the configuration of those briefings. So briefing to us is a feed of content on any topic or skill, as I said. So these briefings are live, or we have the ability for you to hand pick content from the briefings and add them to a saved folder. So what that means is, if you need that extra layer of human curation over the top of the automated curation, then you have the power to do that. And I'm going to show you how that works when we look at Anders Pink. And of course, you can style it in line with the styling, the branding of your organization that you've already created within your Totara platform. Over to you, Matt.
All right. Okay, I think this is my cue. So thanks very much, Michelle. So before we take a look at Anders Pink, it would be good to see what we get with Totara, the Totara Talent Experience platform, and Totara Engage, so that you can understand the value add that Anders Pink provides. So just a little bit of background for anyone that's new to the Totara Talent Experience platform, or the TXP. The TXP is formed of 3 products, which you can use 1, 2, or 3 in any combination. We've got Totara Learn, our learning management system, Totara Engage, our learner experience platform, and Totara Perform, our performance management system. So by combining all 3 of these, we provide a formal instructor assessed based learning platform. We provide a social peer-to-peer collaboration and curation platform within Engage. And within Perform, we can wrap around all of those, that learning, all of that experience, all of that development, and bundle that up around skills and performance activities to provide an end-to-end talent management experience platform. Next slide, please. So a little bit around Totara Engage. I'm going to flick to my demo site in just a moment to show you a live demo, but some of the functionality that's available across Totara Engage, just as one installation, is that we can create content, or subject matter experts can create content, or everyone can create content. It's entirely up to you. These can be individual pieces of microlearning or larger resources that can be shared and liked and commented upon, or we can curate or create playlists of these resources. Now, these resources we'll see in a moment can be text, video, links, a combination of all those things, or that we can create what are called surveys, which act a little bit like pulse surveys. In addition, we have a number of ways for people to discover that content, to find that content, and to share that content also within collaborative workspaces. And those workspaces provide not only a sharing platform, but a communication platform. So they're ideal for project spaces, team spaces, onboarding, etc. So while we can create this content and share this content, we want to make sure that people can find that content, can find those workspaces. So we've bundled up a machine learning based recommendations engine to provide very personalized recommendations to people for items of microlearning or courses, more formal courses that might enhance their learning for those workspaces. And also to just show trending content to see what's happening across your organization within your site. Are there any more things to pop up on screen there? Okay, Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Alongside, I've talked about this commentary, so we can have comments and collaboration, and people can rate and like and share this content. And we can also view this content and complete and view this content within Microsoft Teams. So there's a rich integration between Totara Engage and Microsoft Teams. So you can pull in this content, you can pull in the discussion, you can pull in your courses and complete them within your Teams installation. And it's very much that idea of working in the flow of work. So you might be chatting with your manager, you might be talking about a difficult staff member or a difficult customer. They might say, oh, I just created a resource about this, or I read Matt's article on XYZ, this might be helpful. They can pop a link directly in Teams into the chat from your Totara site. You don't then need to scrabble around, log into a new website, and look things, they're right there inside. So I'm going to be logging into my demo site. This is a completely unthemed, uncustomized site. So if you look through the case studies on our website, you'll see that you can add your own custom branding, your own look and feel, your own layout. So this is very much the default out of the box option. And I'm going to log in as a learner. So you can see that learner experience. So this is the full talent experience platform. So I'm going to very smoothly gloss over the learn and perform functionality and focus on engage. So again, we can see that the value that the Anders Pink plugin can provide someone who's using Engage. So I've logged in as Lisa Learner. She is your average learner, your average user across an organization. And here she's landed on a dashboard, and we can see that first part of those recommendations showing up here, this trending content. Now, because this is just a demo site, we don't have the machine learning engine doesn't have a lot of data to process very personalized and detailed recommendations. So I'll just switch those off at the moment because they're not any good because it's just me and Lisa in this site, and I'm Lisa. So we've got trending content displayed across the top here, but you can see there'd be recommendations for micro learning, so items that take less than 5 minutes to read or watch. We also have recommendations for things like Workspaces, which will go straight into. So as I say, Workspaces are collaborative spaces. They can be open to everyone to join. You can see there's a join button here, or they might be private and you might request membership, or you can hide them entirely. And within these workspaces, I say there's lots of different ways that you can use them because they provide a communication space, they provide a member list, you can see the communication here, but also the ability to share content. And I'll show you how we can create that content in our next step. So this is a public workspace that Lisa has created where she has added some items or some content that she has created. We can see from these icons along the bottom here, not a lot of likes for poor Lisa, but 1 or 2, and some commentary across these items as well. So for example, this is an item around or workspace around extended enterprise. So there is a resource, once it decides to open, there we go, which is just some set text and the obligatory unicorn emoji. And we can have a description of how long it takes to read, how many likes or shares it receives, any commentary across it. And again, pulling from that recommendations engine, any related content. Now again, because this is a demo site, there's not a lot of data for that machine engine to process, but normally that machine learning engine would be able to say, all right, Lisa is like Matt, or Matt's like Lisa, who's like Michelle, who's like Lizzie, and be able to tap into other people's learning experience, other people's likes, and provide these recommendations and this related content, not only based on the text and content of these resources, any hashtags you've added, any additional topics or formal tags you've added, as well as the behaviors and views of other people like you, like people that have the same position or in the same team. So just jumping back to the workspace, this extended enterprise and workspace, and this is just a series of pieces of content that have already been added, but we can create new content directly here, or we can go into our library here and create new pieces of content. So these are called resources. So as I say, resources can be any text content, it can be links, it can be attachments, it can be embedded media, whatever you like, all these surveys, these kind of pulse surveys. So let's create one here. In this case, I'm going to embed oops, that's not here, it's a better video. And you can actually copy and paste the URL from Vimeo or YouTube. I'll just grab a link here and I can just copy and paste that directly in, and it's going to automatically embed. I might want to wrap around some content. I can do that. And you can see I've got some editing options in terms of my content. I've got bold, etc. I can add media or images that are stored locally as well, add attachments and links. And this is developed in mobile first view, so that if you are viewing on a mobile device, that it will be visible and even potentially editable for you if you're logging in through Wi-Fi or data. So I'm just going to put in some nonsense here, go next here. And whenever I create content, I can choose who can see it. And there's lots of different workflows around this. It might be that you're creating content for yourself to come back to view. It might be in drafts, so you don't share it with anyone. It might be something that you just want to share with a couple of people, or again, across those workspaces. And if I identify as it taking less than 5 minutes to read or watch, then it feeds into that recommendations engine as a piece of micro learning. If I choose to share my brilliant video with everyone, then I additionally have this topics, and these are these formal tags that I've really populated directly into the site, completely configurable, so that this content again can be discovered through the learning catalog. And I might just add a bunch here just for my entertainment. And again, you might choose to ping specific people or workspaces just so that they know that content is available to them, even if you've shared it with everyone. And now that content sits within my library. And we've got some other content that Lisa's created, which is a little bit more popular. So you can see here, we've had 3 likes, 2 comments, 2 shares, and then this has been added to one playlist. So speaking of playlists, playlists is a way to, again, curate content together to bundle up all of these individual resources, whether they be text, videos, or these pulse surveys, these quick kind of polls, and into these playlists, which might be a start to finish journey, or it might be just related content that you want to bundle together. And these are very dynamic in nature. You can add content to these playlists as you like, as you will. Again, you can share them just as playlists. You can share them within workspaces. And again, they're discoverable across that learning catalog. So this is a playlist around multi-tenancy, and you'll see that a lot of these items are familiar to you from that workspace. And again, we've got the ability to rate or like these playlists with these star ratings. Again, we can have commentary and discussion bundle up around them and related content. And I can add new content in state, or I can select from an existing piece of content. So this video that I just created, I can add that to my playlist now that's created. And if I decide that that needs to be second in the list, I can simply drag and drop that and rearrange the way that that playlist is displayed to users. So that is a very quick whistle-stop tour of Totara Engage. As I mentioned, we've got a Totara integration with Microsoft Teams, and that allows you to create new items in your library, like we've just seen, to view content, and to wrap around the chat around the content around within Totara Engage as well. And I say it's all discoverable through this learning catalog. So if we're using, in this case, Totara Learn as well, we've got courses, certifications, and programs, but we can also look and search for specific playlists in all resources across the site. And there's the video that we just created. Okay, I think that's me. So I shall stop sharing, hand over the reins back to the team.
Yes, that'd be
okay. My turn?
Yep, great, Michelle.
Excellent, thank you. Thanks, Meredith. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run you through how to curate content within Anders Pink, specifically from the web, so any publicly available content. And then I'll take you into Engage and also Learn, because we recently did an update to our Learn integration to show you the changes. But I'll talk you through the whole integration so you can understand how it works end to end. But first of all, let's let's have a look at how you actually define what a feed of content should look like within Anders Pink, and then we'll go through the steps to integrate. So for anyone that's not seen Anders Pink before, this is the kind of administration UI, and the people that come in here are curators, subject matter experts, people who are responsible for defining what a feed of content should be, not typically a learner or an end user. So each of these tiles that you're seeing here is a briefing in Anders Pink language, which is simply a feed of content from the web on a specific topic that you will have defined within the create briefing settings. So if I just nip back and just show you a few of the fundamentals that you can see on the screen here, essentially you can filter content over different time periods. We currently go back 3 months, so that's a rolling database of indexed content over a 3-month period. So we're going out to the web and we're indexing articles from millions and millions of sources. We bring those into our database, and then we allow you to narrow those results right down by something very specific. So you can see here that we've got the source of where the content comes from, when it was published, title, description, image, read time, all of which feeds through into Totara so that you can display this information to your end users. So to access this content, you simply click on the link and you can then read the article if you choose. And the behavior within Totara is exactly the same. So let's put a briefing together so you can see how it works in a nutshell. Now, I'm going to be giving you quite a high level overview today of how Anders Pink works and then how our plugins work within Totara. But if you would like to get in touch to do a much deeper dive and to create briefings specific to the topics or skills that you're interested in, then do get in touch and we'd be happy to set up a specific demo for your organisation. So I'm going to start off by creating an industry specific briefing. So this is a Martech briefing. So this is just a tour that you see pop up here just to give you kind of instructions as you go through on what to do when you're configuring a briefing. So I'll just close that down as I'm going to show you now. Now my internet seems to have gone slow. Have I frozen or am I still here?
You're still here.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry about that. Maybe my internet's gone slow. So what we've done now is we've looked into the Anders Pink database and we're displaying all content that talks about Martech. So as you can see, we've got quite a disparate collection of articles here, and some of them might include video or audio, some of them might have embedded PDFs. At this point in time, we group all of the online content within the briefing itself. Now, in the not too distant future, we will give you the option to filter on different modalities. So you'll be able to say, only show me video or only show me podcasts, for example. So that's coming in a few months' time. At the moment, they're all grouped in together. So what you do next is you would decide, well, who is my audience and what is it that they're interested in? So for this briefing, for this industry specific briefing, what we're going to do is focus on trends within Martech. So I'm going to use our machine learning to upvote and downvote the relevant content. So I'm going to downvote this one and this one, and then I've got a few trends one coming up. Here we go. So I'm not going to labour the point because we don't have a lot of time today. So I've upvoted a few and downvoted a few. I'm going to apply that training. And what will happen is that the content will reorder. And you can see here that we've got some feedback to say that we've given this briefing 17% training. So what we're doing under the hood with this briefing is we're actually indicating what the categories are that we feel are the most important within each article. So Anders Pink, through its machine learning, understands all of the categories that each article is talking about. So a category to us is marketing, business, law, HR, learning, and so on and so forth. So each of the articles are scored against thousands of categories, and by you upvoting and downvoting, we start to learn what your preferences are. Therefore, any future content that comes into this briefing, we can filter that effectively and accordingly to your preferences when you define a briefing. So what we do now is save this briefing. Ideally, you'd give it 100% training, save this briefing, and then that's ready to go and feed into the Totara platform. So I'm going to show you a couple of other examples so you can really understand the use cases of using curated content from the web within a corporate environment. So now let's have a look at, I'll just refresh the screen here. Let's have a look at hybrid working. So Matt, you talked a lot about the new ways of working. So this is quite a nice example to show you. So here, hybrid working is a trending topic. There's an awful lot of content online. So now we need to think about how do we narrow that down? So there's a few different ways that we can narrow that down. We can use some of the suggested topics here if they're relevant, or we could start thinking about an audience. So here I'm saying hybrid working for a HR audience, and you can see that lots of content is coming through, and we're analysing not just the title, but the body content of the article as well. Or we could change this to an employee audience, and you'll see that when the screen refreshes now, we have a shift in focus, and then we narrow the results down further by upvoting and downvoting the relevant articles. So what we can also do is we can start to specify where that content comes from. So I'm going to show you a slightly different briefing here. So we're going to look at a leadership briefing. And let's go for coaching, for example. Okay, so first of all, we've got leadership and coaching. We've got lots of articles coming up, but it may be that actually you want your leadership audience to have specific sites where this content is published from. So what we're going to do here is add a list. So earlier on, I created a list, and I saved that to this particular team in Anders Pink. So this is the leadership and management list. I've added that, and you'll recognize that actually we've got Forbes, we've got Let's Grow Leaders, and various other women in business and so on and so forth. Lots of different sources from leadership sites that publish good leadership articles. So what I'm saying here is that you can use Anders Pink to be very, very specific on your topics and where that content comes from, or you can go really broad because maybe people actually are less concerned about who's publishing it, but more concerned about what the latest information is on a particular topical skill. So one last point on Anders Pink that we mentioned previously, which is around save folders. So when you've created your briefings and you've got content coming in, you might create quite a broad briefing, which you as a curator will come in and you will review the content coming in, like this digital transformation briefing, for example. But it may be that you want to be the one to handpick that content into a save folder. So you can simply bookmark content into a save folder, which you can then integrate with Totara, and I'll show you how that works. But essentially, a folder is just an area of saving content from the web, and it persists, whereas a live briefing updates all the time with new content. So this is your automation. So if you want to bring fresh content on a regular basis into your TXP, live briefings are definitely where you want to go, whereas the save folders allow you to be very, very specific. Okay, so I'm going to jump into Totara now, and I'm going to show you how we integrate with Engage in the first place, and then I'm going to show you the learn side of things. So what you've got here is a bunch of example workspaces that we've put together in order to demonstrate the value proposition of using Anders Pink in conjunction with Totara. So I'm going to go into, first of all, a community space. So the theme for this community space is around well-being at work. So you may promote this internally as a place to go to kind of get some hints and tips on how you might improve your well-being at work, or your teams, or your organization, or best practices that you might like to apply across the business. So what we've got here is articles that are coming in. You can see these are 2 days old, 6 days old, really fresh content on this topic, with all the metadata that you would expect to see. So if I click into this, what you'll see is a description. You can go to the article, you can see when it was published. And what we're also doing is we're adding in the hashtag. So what this is it is automatically added in to every single content item as it comes in to Totara into the library as a resource. And this will help to fuel the recommendations engine that Meredith was talking about during her demonstration earlier. So this will really help to make sure that this fresh content is being surfaced to the most relevant people across your platform. Okay, so what I can also show you within the Workspaces is the discussion thread. So this may be in some instances where most people go to see the latest information or what the members are talking about. So what we've done is we've added in the ability for up to three articles a day to be posted into the discussion thread. Now, if it's a very niche topic, there might not be 3 new articles a day, so it will just show up to 3. So in here, you can see that, you know, we've got these articles here, you can comment on them, you can click into them and you can share them, and obviously you can view the article itself. So this is helping, again, to keep this workspace alive and fresh with most relevant content, so that a human doesn't have to do it every day or every week. You know, this means that Totara and the Workspaces can become truly scalable with very, very little effort. Okay, so to connect to Workspace briefly, because we can always show you this in more detail if you'd like a demo directly with us. So what we do is we add a team. So this is the API key that you get from Anders Pink when you have an Anders Pink account, and then you simply configure the workspaces that you have to be connected to the Anders Pink briefing. So if I just show you here briefly, here's my workspaces, change management for leaders, and then I can select my briefing or my saved folders from Anders Pink. So once you connect the team to the workspace, it will then populate that team with a number of articles every day if there's something new published, and again the discussion thread as well. So it's really, really straightforward to set up. As you can see, it takes just a few minutes to populate the library. Okay, so please do ask questions in the chat or the Q&A, sorry, if you have anything specific on Engage. But now I'll jump into Learn to show you what we've done there. So for the Learn plugin, what I've done is I've set up 3 different configurations to show you kind of how you can style it in different ways. But essentially what it's doing is it's bringing in a feed of content on a specific topic for an audience. So this is one of the new features that we've added in. So you can see here that we've got a large image, small image, description, no description. You can style it in whichever way suits your dashboard. So if I show you the different settings that we have now within here, there's a few new features which enable you to bring in feeds of content in a much more flexible way for your different groups of users within Totara. So I'm going to go into the settings here of this particular block so you can see. So you can change the name of it and you can change the appearance and all the rest of it as you would expect. So the first change that we've made is around the ability to have multiple teams in Anders Pink. So previously, if you'd use the Anders Pink block, you could only have one team, which meant that it could get a little bit tricky if you wanted to scale the use of curation with Anders Pink across the organization. So now what that means is you can set up separate teams in Anders Pink. You can have lots of SMEs and they won't all be crossing over each other within the same team. You can separate them into their own teams. So what that also means is that you can now add multiple briefings to a block, and you can specify how you want those briefings to appear. So you can have them appear separately or mixed, and I'm going to show you an example of this in a minute. But essentially what that means is when you create a feed of content in Anders Pink, you can be very, very specific for that feed, for that briefing, but you can then combine more than one briefing so that you get really accurate results, but you can interleave the content from each briefing within the block, or you can separate it out. So you have one topic, another topic, and then another. So that gives you the opportunity to show a more diverse collection of articles to your audience. And then on the audience side of things, what you can also do is you can specify who sees what. So in this particular example here, I've got the Martech Briefing, which is showing to the marketing audience. So I'll just show you what that looks like. Am I all right for time, Matt?
Yeah, that's fine. I think coming towards the end, but that's fine.
Okay, super. So what we've got here is the ability to select your audience. So when you set your audiences up through the normal way that you would within the settings of Totara, then you can select your audience here and only show those briefings to that particular audience. So if I show you this other login that I've got here for a French Michelle within Totara, what you'll see is that we've got French articles on technology trends, and I've also mixed that in with English articles on technology trends. And as I say, it's interleaved, so you've got a French one, English, French, English, and so on. So I'm sure you can see that for different people in different job roles and different regions and different languages, you can be very, very specific about what they see on their particular dashboard. Okay, so last point on this is around learn. Now, because we are bringing in the articles in as resources into Totara, it also means that it's fully searchable within the library. So you can add these individual pieces of content, you can search. So if we say digital, for example, everything that mentions digital will come up within the results, but you can also add these individual items to playlists. So if I just go into a previous playlist that I created, you'll see that we've got individual articles. And if you wanted to add more, you have this Anders Pink tab where you can then select the briefing that you want to add the content from, and then just add the individual articles. So it gives you more flexibility around the different content types that you want to add in. And I think that's probably the main points to show you. But as I say, happy to book separate demos and go into a lot more detail for you on how it all works.
That looks really great, Michelle. Thanks for sharing that with us today. And especially see the new plugin for Engage looks really exciting. I think that's a great way to be able to put content into Engage really quickly, especially with the bot sort of feature there, putting them into the discussion panel as well. That's really great to see.
Yes, definitely.
Just going to share my screen one more time. So just confirm we can see those upcoming events.
Yep.
So just to say thanks for coming to today's session, everyone. We are running some more webinars in the Totara community, and the next one's coming up. We have creating a seamless interface to link the NHS electronic staff record with Totara. So if you are a member of the NHS, that would be a great one to come to. We're also having a look at Charles Rivers Laboratories and their case study with Actual Solutions, and just looking at how they've saved lots and lots of money. And finally, we're going to have a look at creating a healthy coaching culture to improve performance management practice. And we also have a new academy training available on coaching as well. So do have a look in the academy at that course. Also, if you're interested in learning more about Totara at all, you can go to our website, www.totaralearning.com, and you can book a demo there. And for Michelle?
Yes, please feel free to book a consultation with us. What we normally do is we have a quick discovery call with you and identify what sort of content you're interested in curating. We then set up an environment within Anders Pink for you to really get your teeth into and have a play around with, and then we'll help you also integrate that into your Totara environment so you can test it out on a few learners.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much for your time today, Michelle. Thanks very much, Meredith. Thanks, Lizzie, for answering questions there as well. Thanks for everyone who's joined the webinar today. And like Michelle says, feel free to come and learn more about Anders Pink and Totara.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Matt. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Lizzie.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.